There is a path that no fowl knoweth, and what the vulture's eye hath not seen.
On December 10th, 1969, the English News at 10 programme aired a story that ignited a storm of outrage and bewilderment in the small coastal parish of St Agnes, Cornwall. Some alarmed locals had contacted the press to report a so-called cult conducting a dark, ritualistic burial in the secluded woods of the nearby Jericho Valley. This Masonic sect, calling themselves the Brotherhood of the Essenes, had conducted their rite dressed in black robes, chanting arcane prayers and brandishing occult paraphernalia. For some time, local news of their activities had been spreading throughout the area. Children were frightened by their appearances on the local high street, wearing long, dark robes, looking to the residents of St Agnes like something out of a Hammer horror film. The ceremony had also been captured on film, with some locals holding secret viewings amongst themselves. And over the years, a local folklore began to emerge, rumouring that anyone brave enough to seek out the hidden shrine at the burial site, marked by a circle of white and green stones on the forest floor, risked meeting a dark fate. Even today, rumours circulate online that anyone spiritually unworthy or holding ill intentions who go searching for the grave will find themselves plagued by misfortune and, in some cases, meet their deaths. But the most peculiar part of all of this is that the being buried in that coffin was not a person, but a dog. And according to the Brotherhood of the Essenes, this was no ordinary dog. This dog was Gengha, and Gengha was a king. Nestled into Cornwall's Atlantic coastline, Jericho Valley is a densely forested basin that follows a small winding river which opens onto a wide rock cove. Like much of Cornwall, tin mining has been carried out in the valley possibly as far back as the Bronze Age, as the metal can be mined fairly easily from the slopes, panned from the river, as well as picked up from the beach. Eventually, 19th century industrialization led to the extensive development and severe pollution of the valley, with the river apparently running black. Today, however, it has been largely reclaimed by nature and is mostly used for the beach and hiking paths. Yet Jericho Valley also holds something of a mystical reputation. Local legends say that it is one of the sites that a young Jesus Christ visited with his uncle, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a tin trader and sailed into the cove to do business with the local miners. These legends also state that Jericho Valley is in fact the center of the universe and an interdimensional and energetic focal point, which secretly holds a power far greater than other publicly known esoteric sites in England, such as Glastonbury. In the 1960s, a hippie commune was set up in the valley, possibly because of these stories. And to the Brotherhood of the Essenes, these legends were also more than just folklore. Two members went so far as to purchase a property deep in the valley, seeking a secluded and spiritually potent place for their occult practices, giving the cottage the Hebrew name, the House of the Angels. Most of the Brotherhood lived close to London, where the group held its headquarters. But they would frequently travel to Jericho Valley as well as Glastonbury to conduct some of their rites. One of which, apparently, involved healing a woman of paralysis up on Glastonbury Tor. The Brotherhood was formed as an offshoot of a Rosicrucian group named the House of the Holy Grail in the early 20th century, a time when Masonic and esoteric orders were, relative to now, quite common in England. But they stood apart by their veneration of animals, with all members adhering to a strict vegetarian diet. They took their name from a historical Jewish sect, which was active roughly from the 2nd century BC to the 1st century AD, and mostly vanished from the record after the First Jewish-Roman War. The 20th century Brotherhood of the Essenes claimed direct spiritual lineage from this ancient group, claiming that each member was a direct reincarnation of someone in the original sect, and declared that they had now re-emerged to prepare humanity for the dawning of the Aquarian Age. According to the group's lore, they were granted a private viewing of the Dead Sea Scrolls when they were briefly held at the British Museum in 1965, and cite the content of the scrolls as evidence for their continuity with the original Essenes. Discovered in the mid-20th century in a cave in Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls gave scholars concrete insight into the beliefs and practices of the original Essenes, including their communal living, purity laws, and belief in a coming apocalypse. The Brotherhood believed that their own beliefs were validated by the discovery of the scrolls, as they had been subscribing to very similar doctrines before the scrolls had been found. According to the cosmology of the group, the universe is divided into multiple planes of existence, including the material plane, the Christ plane, the plane of knowledge, and the animal plane. Far from being spiritually inferior, animals are said to originate in realms that humans themselves aspire to reach. They are believed to be permanently linked to the earth, whereas humans are merely temporary inhabitants. In the Brotherhood's view, Earth is a training ground for humanity, with animals serving as native mentors and guides. They argued that animals have dwelled here long before humans, and will continue to do so even after humans have evolved and moved on. Like some Eastern philosophies, the Brotherhood taught that animals experience unfulfilled expectation, anger, and disappointment when they are mistreated or killed. And when people consume the flesh of animals, these negative energies are absorbed and gradually accumulate, leading to anger, depression, selfishness, and ultimately hindering spiritual growth. The only way for humans to safely eat meat is with the animal's full consent. The commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," is said to apply as much to animals as it does to humans. Mainstream Christianity teaches that the baby Jesus was first visited by shepherds and then by wise men. But according to the Brotherhood of the Essenes, there is a deliberate omission. They claimed that in truth, the stable animals were the first to greet the newborn Jesus. Forming a circle around him, the animals breathed upon him, imparting what the Brotherhood called the divine vapors. They then licked him, bestowing him with their purity. And for that brief moment, the animals are said to have gained the power of speech and chanted a sacred prayer, briefly fusing the immaculate perfection of the animal planes with the earthly realms. Humanity's practice of capturing, abusing, and killing animals in the name of science, sustenance, pleasure, and profit has inflicted immense harm on humans themselves, amounting, in the view of the Brotherhood, to a failure at life's ultimate tests. Yet they also saw hope in the growing movements for animal welfare, interpreting them to be the herald of a new era in which humanity finally acknowledges and corrects its behavior. The group held that dogs, particularly the Samoyed breed, are especially divine creatures. Central to the membership of the 1960s was a woman named Anna Maria, a psychic medium who owned multiple Samoyeds. Along with her reported ability to relay messages from the spirit realm, Anna believed that one of her dogs, Gengha, was a king of the animal planes, whose spirit would reincarnate on Earth 3 times. with the first Gengha having lived at the time of Christ, the second Gengha being buried in Jericho Valley. The third and final incarnation would signal the imminent return of Christ, the end of the world as we know it, and the emergence into a new age of peace and spirituality on earth. Gengha's burial in Jericho Valley was to allow the space and privacy for members of the Brotherhood to make pilgrimages to pay their respects to their holy pup. Gengha's female partner animal, possibly a sibling, was also buried at the site in the 1970s. Naturally, the reality of the group's rather endearing mystical worldview was lost on the residents of St. Agnes, Jericho Valley, and wider 60s and 70s Britain. Soon after the news report aired, outlandish rumours and suspicions began to swirl. In the early 1980s, the couple from the Brotherhood sold the house, and the graveyard fell into disuse. Yet, alleged visits by mysterious people dressed in occult attire over the years continued to stoke local legends. Some locals apparently believed that to protect Gengha's resting place in their absence, the Brotherhood had cast a series of magical ward spells on the site. And tales of a mysterious guardian warning people away, alongside rumours of a horribly failed looting attempt, only added to the shrine's dark mystique. After the initial flurry of interest and a few further media appearances in the 1970s, the Brotherhood receded from public view once the Jericho Valley property was sold. Most people assume the group died off. Like many similar movements, another hangover from 19th century spiritualism, overtaken by more modern rationalist beliefs. But that isn't the case. The Brotherhood of the Essenes is in fact still very much alive. For decades, every year at true midnight on the summer solstice, Glastonbury Town Hall has been host to a theatrical gathering of people dressed in ceremonial robes, embroidered with Masonic symbols, singing hymns and delivering treatises on ethics, spirituality, and animal welfare. In a town widely considered the heart of the UK's esoteric and woo-woo scene, such gatherings can seem fairly routine. Yet at this annual event, in pride of place on the stage sits two portraits of Samoyed dogs. The members of the Brotherhood who once attended Gengha's burial are long gone, but in their place, a new set of aspirants have stepped forward, working to keep the group's message and practices alive. This annual solstice gathering has been the Brotherhood's only public-facing event, and each year attracts a mixed crowd of curious onlookers, solstice festival goers, and spiritual seekers hoping to join the group, as attending the event is the first step in the group's formal initiation process. After attending, those who are accepted receive a set of meditative, emotional, and ethical exercises to practice. These tools serve as the first step in a series of graded initiations designed to progressively reshape each candidate's mindset, perception, and emotional impulses, ultimately aiming to reveal deeper truths about reality. In itself, this approach is hardly unusual, though, aligning with the core objectives of more familiar systems like meditative yoga. However, the group's flamboyant pageantry and what some see as eccentric dog worship have occasionally placed them on the receiving end of criticism and at the center of some drama within the spiritual community. In 2016, Father Stephen, the current leader and Grand Magus of the group, announced at the Glastonbury meeting that they would no longer be taking on new members and quietly returning to secrecy for the foreseeable future. As of 2025, their online presence has been completely removed. He did state, however, that the group would open its door again one day and continue to be present throughout the transition to the Aquarian Age, which is apparently due to last for another 200 years. In the meantime, though, the folklore around Gengha's grave has continued to evolve and has recently made its way onto the internet. Recent visitors claim online to have experienced intense spiritual awakenings, been subject to terrifying supernatural trials, or driven nearly to madness after locating the site. Combined with the local legends of disappearances, death, and memories of the black-clad cult, an ominous vibe still hangs over this story. But the truth is that the Brotherhood of the Essenes were, and still are, a group of animal lovers, meditators, and spiritual seekers, albeit in the often misunderstood esoteric Christian tradition. The burial site itself lies on private land. Perhaps the original rumours may have been deliberately spread by locals, wishing to keep away curiosity seekers. Whatever the truth, Gengha's grave is the resting place of two beloved pets. The Brotherhood of the Essenes believe that dogs are pure and without sin, and whatever else you might think, it can be hard to disagree with that.